Stephen Miller was next to President Trump in the Oval Office, and he has some words to say. And then CNN took those words and somehow put them in teardroppers and put it in their eyes because it just makes them have this weird meltdown live on air. And it's so freaking hilarious. Not even bizarre. It's kind of expected nowadays, but it is absolutely funny. And we're going to be taking a look at it. But before we do, I want to encourage you all to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now let's take a look at what Stephen Miller said sitting next to President Trump in the Oval Office.
Steve Miller, please say a few words.
Thank you, sir. So just to, first of all, follow up on what the Vice President said. No police officer working in the city can remember a time in their lives when there has been no murders. You can work at the police department for 20 years, 30 years, your whole life. We've checked the records. No one can even find a record of being murder-free for as long as we've been murder-free under President Trump's leadership. Additionally, and the President spoke about this before, we've uncovered, in the process of uncovering, a massive scandal in Washington, D.C. with the doctoring of crime stats. And the Department of Justice, under the Attorney General, is leading the effort to uncover this. But when we ultimately share the results, it will stun you. The extent to which, even though D.C. had the worst crime in America, honestly measured, it dramatically understated how bad it was. There's even accusations that murders and homicides were reported as accidents instead of murders. I mean, this is how severe the manipulation of the crime data has been in this city, and it will all be uncovered and it will all be brought to light. You know, I've had a chance to spend some time, as has everyone here, with the police officers in the city. Members of the public are going up to them and thanking them, just overflowing with gratitude, because for the first time in their lives, they can use the parks, they can walk on the streets. You have people who can walk freely at night without having to worry about being robbed or mugged. They're wearing their watches again. They're wearing jewelry again. They're carrying purses again. People had changed their whole lives in this city for fear of being murdered, mugged, and carjacked. It is a literal statement that President Trump has freed 700,000 people in this city who were living under the rule of criminals and thugs. And the last thing I'll say is that under the efforts of Terry, to my left and many here, what they found also is that the street criminals here in Washington, D.C. were doing business directly with the transnational criminal cartels, the foreign terrorist organizations. So not only was the city being run by these criminal thugs, but they were working with some of the most dangerous terrorist organizations on the planet to traffic weapons and drugs into this city. And what we are uncovering every day is shocking to us, and we look forward to sharing all the results with you. But President Trump, your leadership has uncovered some of the great public safety scandals of our life, and now because of you, people are safe and free for the first time ever in this city.
I mean, that's incredible. And as a Canadian, I can really appreciate the idea of living in a safe city, because in Canada, we don't have that at all. So that's awesome that Trump is doing that, and it's starting with Washington, D.C., and it looks like he's moving out to other parts of the country by deploying the National Guard. So like him or hate him, the fact remains that Trump is actually doing some pretty good stuff for Americans. CNN doesn't see it that way. CNN thinks that, well, I'm going to leave it up to them to say what they think.
Can I just say really quickly, Abby, because anytime that we play something from Stephen Miller, it would be journalistic integrity to point out that he is a white supremacist and he is the brainchild behind this policy. That's not my opinion. That's actual facts. And for him to purport lies from the Oval Office as a white supremacist,
I don't know.
it should be pointed out.
It's
reporting Washington Wall Street Journal's own reporting.
I want to address what he's claiming. He says that for the first time in their lives, people can use parks in Washington, D.C. They can go out to dinner in Washington, D.C. Brad, I don't know if you live in D.C. or in the nearby surroundings, but that is factually untrue. That is not true.
You could use parks before, and you could go out to dinner.
Yeah,
now,
you could wear jewelry, but you could wear your watches.
But you're deflecting, though, Abby. The question here is D.C. safer this week than it was 3 weeks ago?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. I want to go back. I want to go back to one thing Tiffany said. Tiffany said people.
I'm not deflecting. You're deflecting. I mean, the point is.
I'm not deflecting.
The point is, actually, my goodness, they could solve cancer. They could denuclearize the entire world. But like he said that they can go to the parks now, and they've always been able to go to the parks. So we're just going to make sure that everybody knows that what he said is not true. Oh my freaking goodness. CNN, I think, is a little bit retarded. Can I say that? Too bad, I just did. This is so freaking crazy. But we got this other clip here of Stephen Miller dropping a bomb on some freaking communist protesters. Here we go. This guy is he's making some waves in America.
Here's the most important point. There are residents who lived in Washington, D.C. their entire lives. Their parents lived here. Their grandparents lived here. And they have lived for generations in intolerable conditions of crime and decay. There are parts of the city, I moved to the city 20 years ago. There are places where I've seen graffiti that has been untouched for 2 decades. There are homeless encampments that have made it impossible for families to use public parks and public recreation for as long as I've lived here. There are hundreds of residents of this city who are shot in street violence every single year, making it one of the most violent cities on planet Earth. And for too long, 99% of this city has been terrorized by 1% of this city. And the voices that you hear out there, those crazy communists, they have no roots, they have no connections to the city, they have no families they are raising in this city, they have no one that they are sending to school in this city, they have no jobs in this city, they have no connections to this community at all. But they're the ones who've been advocating for the 1%, the criminals, the killers, the rapists, the drug dealers. And I'm glad they're here today. Because me, Pete, and the Vice President are all going to leave here, and inspired by them, we're going to add thousands more resources to this city to get the criminals and the gang members out of here. We're going to dismantle those networks, and we're going to prove that a city can serve for the law-abiding citizens who live there. We are not going to let the communists destroy a great American city, let alone the nation's capital. And let's just also address another thing. All these demonstrators that you've seen out here in recent days, all of these elderly white hippies, they're not part of the city and never have been. And by the way, most of the citizens in Washington, D.C. are black. This is not a city that has had any safety for its black citizens for generations. And President Trump is the one who is fixing that with the support of the Metropolitan Police Department, the support of the National Guard, and our federal law enforcement officers. So we're going to ignore these stupid white hippies that all need to go home and take a nap because they're all over 90 years old, and we're going to get back to the business of protecting the American people and the citizens of Washington, D.C.
You know, it's a breath of fresh air to hear somebody actually just say it as it needs to be said. He should have included that they all need to go home and take a shower or go to a community center and take a shower too, because they probably stink. You have this weird mob mentality where people that there's just like this communist mentality. They're latching on to ideas that they have no attachment to, no roots in those areas to, and they're just going and showing up and causing mayhem. And it's weird. It's weird. Like, go back to where you came from, dude. I don't know. I don't like it, but I like the fact that America is putting a freaking end to it. Like and subscribe for more content like this, and let me know what you guys think. Is Stephen Miller good? Is he bad? Or is he great?